To take. I mean, how many teams does he want to play for in the last couple of years? He bailed himself out of Houston because he didn't like the idea that they could no longer win after they did everything for him, including Westbrook, and gave him all that money. Then he goes to the Nets because he felt he could, help with Durant. Didn't like the way it finished up with Kyrie with the vaccination. Durant's hurt, so he says, you know what? Let me get myself out of here. His buddy GM is down in Philadelphia, so he figures he can work with Murray and they can have a nice little kumbaya. Here's the bottom line about Harden.
Okay.
Can you play in an NBA final?
Yeah.
He did once. He was bad. Can he make a big play and do some nice things in a conference final?
Yeah.
Do we all forget about Game 7 against Golden State when he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean? 2 for 13 from 3 when the Warriors won the Game 7 in Houston. Harden's a little tough to take. It got to be fair, a little tough to take. And I'm very concerned about him in Philly because when things get a little tough, he's got a history now of bailing. He bailed on you. Jerry West bailed on the Lakers when they lost the Celtics year after year.
Oh,
did
God.
Did Bird bail? I mean, Durant bailed, but at least he helped Golden State win a championship, for crying out loud.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little rough.
So you don't trust him on the court in the playoffs or loyalty as a team? So
I do not trust. First of all, I don't like his game in a big spot, and I don't trust him when things get a little dangerous, how he is going to respond. So I am down on Harden.
Couple of things. First of all, rules of the game on First Take.
What?
Molly is the matriarch of the show. You have to let her ask the question first. Yeah. You did not let her ask the question.
I did jump in. I apologize.
You jumped in.
Do not apologize. He was enthusiastic and he was ready to go.
You jumped in. Okay, that's number one.
Christopher, I'm
Number
good.
two, I'm the guy you got to debate. You're looking at her. She's much better to look at than me, but you're looking at her as if that's the one.
So you're going to tell me Harden's great
You
now?
got to look at me, okay? I'm the person that you got to debate with. That's number two.
The rules are out of the way now.
The rules, Mad Dog, the rules. Here's the deal. Did you know that James Harden is a career 28-point per game scorer in the playoffs? So we're talking about a guy. Now, mind you, he's shooting 42% from the field. He shoots like 32% from three-point range. Those numbers are down from what he does in the regular season, no doubt. And you can point to a multitude of times against the Spurs, against the against the Golden State Warriors.
More than once.
Okay, there was a time. I remember when the Clippers lost a huge lead. They had an opportunity with Lob City with CP3, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan to get to the conference finals. They had a Game 6 at the Staples Center at the time before it became Crypto.com Arena or whatever the hell it is. Okay, and Houston came back from in that game with Harden on the bench, with Dwight Howard and these boys on the court. So I understand that there are times where James Harden has come up smaller than what we expect from him in the postseason. I'm not denying that. But when we think about what we're asking here, can you rely on Harden for a deep player from? I would say yes. And let me tell you why I would say yes. Number one, when has Harden ever had a dude like Embiid to ball with? It's never happened. We understand the greatness of CP3. By the way, miracle has happened. CP3 has gotten even better than he was when he was on Houston. He's better now on Phoenix. Years later, at 36 years of age, okay? Russell Westbrook, we know what a Herculean athlete he is, but in the same breath, of course, that was problematic, those two together, because they both need the ball. We understand that Dwight Howard was never the answer. I like Dwight Howard, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, shot blocking, whatever, but when he went to Houston, he thought that he was going to be an offensive player. No, you're not better than James Harden on the offensive side of the ball. This situation in Philadelphia is the best that Harden has ever had in terms of playing with Joel Embiid, who is my vote for league MVP if the season were to end today. I will remind you again, Harden's averaging 28 a game on 42% shooting. It's not like the dude is a scrub and he wets the bed and can't produce. And when you look at that, then we take into account the Eastern Conference. Okay, you've got Brooklyn, you've got Milwaukee, you've got Miami. Philadelphia is right there in the mix. Last night's massacre at the hands of the Boston Celtics, notwithstanding, and at some point we'll have to talk about the Boston Celtics because they have really stepped it up. All I'm saying to you is James Harden is still one of the most prolific offensive players this game has ever seen. Let's not act like we get to ignore that.
What, did we give him a pass last year because he had a bad hamstring in Game 7 against Milwaukee, 5 out of 17 from the field?
Absolutely.
We give him a pass.
Last year, not the others.
We give him a
last
pass.
Year, yes.
So when you,
I don't hold anything.
How about the old line? When you're injured, don't play. When you play, don't injure. He played. I'm supposed to evaluate his injury.
Let me answer that question for you. Let me answer that question because, see, I'm one of the millions that listen to Mad Dog.
You do. You know me pretty well.
So I've heard the things that you said. I will remind you, he wasn't supposed to play. Kyrie went down. Kyrie messed up his ankle in Milwaukee, was not available for action.
I understand.
And they basically said, Harden, whatever.
So he gets a pass in Game 7.
Absolutely.
He gets a complete pass.
Absolutely. Complete pass in
How
Game
about
7.
bailing out on Durant? Doesn't that bother you?
Bailing out on
Durant?
Durant?
This year.
Bailing out.
Well, Durant's
Bailing
going to
out.
come back and play. Durant's the best player in the league.
Excuse me. First of all, we're not holding Durant accountable in that regard. We know that Durant is the best player in the world, is when he's healthy, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, no question about it. I
He's the
agree
best
with you on
player in the
that.
world. He's the best player in the world.
He's better than LeBron right now.
Yeah, without question.
100%.
Without, no disrespect to
I agree.
LeBron, but Durant is on
That
another
is a
level.
good question. Why don't you hold that against him?
Because when I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets situation, it's been dysfunction from day one. Remember, Kyrie goes to Brooklyn. They're supposed to go to the New York Knicks. Kyrie convinces KD, let's go to Brooklyn. Number 2, Kyrie is on the record saying, we don't really need a coach, okay? Which is why you could go and hire a Steve Nash, who's never had any coaching
fired
experience.
Atkins, who didn't deserve it.
That's right, who did not deserve it. And don't get me wrong, I like Steve Nash a lot, and I think Steve Nash has a promising future. But the fact of the matter is, he never coached on any level
I agree.
before he was hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. So you take that into consideration, and then all the stuff that has transpired since the pandemic has taken fold. James Harden didn't come here for that. He didn't come here for that.
Well, what's the excuse about bailing out on Houston? What's the excuse there? They gave him everything he wanted and he bailed. And he acted like a jerk to do it. Doesn't that bother you?
Yes, it does. But here's the thing, Mad Dog. Daryl Morey abruptly walked out the door. Okay? Listen, I got a lot of love for Tillman Fertitta, the owner for the Houston Rockets. And definitely James Harden could get whatever he wants. We all understand that. But you had your window. The window had closed. And Daryl Morey walked out the door.
Right.
Harden wanted to walk out the door with them. Initially, they said no. How he handled his...
It was awful. But that shows you character.
All right.
In a big Game 7, that's the sort of thing you're dealing with.
What's up with all the emotion? What's up with all the emotion? The character thing that you keep bringing up. I can bring up character stuff about GMs, coaches, owners.
He's a player.
And so he's...
They're not playing
So he's
between
supposed
the
to be held to a
lines?
different standard? He's supposed to be held
Yes,
to...
of course. He's making $40 million.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.